what is better for independent films, TVOD or AVOD? I'm getting back into this one. I'm Jay Horton. I make movies that make money. This is how. AVOD versus TVOD. This subject has been popping up quite a bit in filmmaking circles, and I've got some new stuff to say on the subject, so let's do it. First off, for the uninitiated, TVOD stands for Transactional Video on Demand. This is basically when a streaming site lists your movie for sale or rental, like Amazon, Vudu, Apple TV, etc., when you're actually paying to rent or purchase the movie. Now, AVOD stands for Advertising-Based Video on Demand, basically where the movie is shown for free but with ads, like YouTube or Tubi TV. Then there's also an SVOD, Subscription Video on Demand, that is subscription-based, where you pay for a subscription and watch all you want, like Netflix. So, for independent films, which one's best? AVOD, generally speaking. And look, when I say something like this, I'm almost always talking in generalities. If you were to add up all the revenue made by all independent films and where they were making it, by and large, there are more earning money through AVOD than TVOD, in general. There are exceptions. For example, if you're really good at marketing, have a very solid feature in a marketable genre, you might be better off starting out on TVOD. This whole video was inspired by one such example. A filmmaker I know made a micro-budget film, and they're earning upwards of $8,000 a month through Amazon transactional TVOD. And they're earning less than, say, $400 a month off AVOD type platforms like, say, Tubi. And they're questioning the worth of even trying that supplemental like AVOD stuff because the TVOD is doing so well. So yeah, it kind of sounds like proof that TVOD is better, right? Well, not so fast, Turbo. First off, this is just one movie, one filmmaker, one movie. One movie's success or failure is hardly a good argument for anything in distribution. Today's hit is tomorrow's failure is the day after's hit again. First off, to this filmmaker, congrats. Most first-time films did not make anywhere close to that much anywhere. So great job. And I did take a look at some of their marketing, and it was really on point. But let's talk about this for a second. I don't just want to come off here like I'm dismissing the POV that TVOD is better. For this particular film, TVOD was the right move. You know, they are good marketers. They had a super good genre for US TVOD sales. And so far, FilmHUB and AVOD hasn't shown them shit. And had they listened to some dip like me saying that TVOD is not good and go with AVOD, and they had not even tried TVOD, they would have lost out big time. Which again, you know, like I say in my my main channel video, like don't listen to what I'm saying blindly because there are always exceptions. I mean, I'm doing this whole video based on how AVOD is overall generally superior to TVOD. If you take that to heart and don't even try TVOD, you could be losing out. So to be fair, I typically do tell people to start with TVOD if they can. I have never said it's completely dead or not worth trying. I've just said over and over that generally speaking, AVOD is where most indies make more. And in my opinion, in today's, distribution ecosystem, these are not mutually exclusive things. For example, the filmmaker that did the 100K on TVOD, the film was also on AVOD at the same time, and they were still earning that high rate on TVOD. So you know what I mean? Having it on Tubi and Amazon for rental at the same time doesn't necessarily hurt sales. Now, this filmmaker also uploaded to Amazon directly themselves, which is another thing that I often tell people not to do because, it limits you. Like you won't be able to get onto Prime. It lessens your chance of being able to get on Freevee later. But in this particular case, if they hadn't done Amazon themselves and say went through FilmHUB, they still would have got, the $100,000, but it would have been minus the 20% they had to pay to FilmHUB. So they would have lost $20,000 following my advice. And that doesn't sound too awesome. All that said, after the TVOD falls off for them, and it will fall off, SVOD and AVOD would be all there is left. And now that they've done Amazon through Prime Video Direct, that movie will never hit Amazon Prime or Freevee, most likely. Though maybe Amazon will unlock Freevee for them due to their high sales, that is a possibility. Now, granted, right now they may not care about that either way. They're making a killing. But a year or so from now, when they're making, less than $100 a month on TVOD, some $300 months on SVOD will start sounding a lot better. And eventually, those Amazon SVOD, AVOD numbers would most likely make up for the 20% that they would have gave up during the film salad days. But that's a big question mark. And honestly, it could go either way. I'd say that they 100% made the right choice going with Amazon directly themselves in this case. I just wanted to point out that it's still not exactly a no-brainer. And this example also just goes to show you that there is no set way to do things. I can sit here and tell you over and over that, AVOD is where most independent films make their money, but then, a filmmaker could come in with this film and it's just right for AVOD, or it's just right for self-distribution, and maybe it doesn't make anything on AVOD. It does happen. But that train of thought, that just dismissing, one distribution method over another early on in a film's release because of an earnings spike somewhere else, fails to see the future value that places like FilmHUB and the AVOD platforms have. And this is where a lot of filmmakers go wrong. It's important to remember that our individual experiences and those of the people we know is not necessarily representative of the industry as a whole. Anyone's one experience is just that, one experience. And even me, look, I got 70 features out in the marketplace, and even that is a pretty small sample size when you're talking about the overall independent film market. And while one might be able to point to several individual films that do very well on TVOD, I know half a dozen other titles for every one of those that did better on AVOD, like way better. And at least 3 of those are with no ad spending. And about the ad spending, it's important to note that the filmmakers that I was talking about here are spending a decent amount a month on ads to drive traffic. I believe it was between $400 and $900 a month. Now, with their earnings, that's still a great ratio, and I'm not dismissing it, but there's cats out there with AVOD hits just as big that their marketing is 100% organic, like no paid ads. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that that's virtually impossible with a TVOD release. I could be wrong. Anyone that's had a TVOD hit in the past 3 years without spending any money on marketing, I would love to hear about it in the comments. And by hit, I'm talking about $10,000 or over a month. Plus, with AVOD, there's just a lot more of a potential viral component to it that's just not present in TVOD. And honestly, here I am spewing all this, and I'm sitting here saying that AVOD is generally superior to TVOD, and I'm on the verge of releasing Craving, which will absolutely start on TVOD. And I do project, at least in the first year, that it'll make more money on TVOD than AVOD. But again, a lot of this is because I am good at marketing my films. Craving has a very market popular genre and some notable names. In my opinion, Craving will kill on TVOD. But I'd be extremely naive to ignore SVOD or AVOD, even for movies that start out great on TVOD. Over their lifetimes, which is hopefully 20 plus years, the AVOD sales will eventually catch and surpass newer TVOD sales. That brings me to another reason that I'm kind of lukewarm on TVOD for most indie filmmakers. Look, quite honestly, bluntly, most filmmakers aren't good at marketing. Most don't know how to really market or don't care to make a movie in a profitable genre. Many filmmakers just want to do the best they can with what they have and make the most possible. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is why places like FilmHUB and distributors like Indie Rights are so great. They give these films that opportunity through a mix of TVOD, SVOD, and AVOD without putting much emphasis on one over the other. Brass tacks. TVOD is not optimal for all. And statistically speaking, it's not right for most, at least not has a sole component. Or at least it's more wrong than right, if that makes any sense. But that brings up a good point. All this also really just depends on your movie, your individual movie, and your aims for that movie. Did you spend more than $50K? Do you have a market-friendly movie? Are you good at marketing? And here's the thing, a lot of filmmakers will say yes, yes, and yes to those questions, and then we'll go out and make a movie for $75K that's not market friendly, we'll do awful marketing, and they'll still think that they're doing all those things right. I came across another filmmaker in a Facebook group recently bemoaning their earnings, saying that they did everything right, their marketing was on point. In less than 2 minutes, just looking at their trailer and some basic marketing material, it was obvious that none of this was true. Yet they believe it is. In my opinion, to really be successful in indie film, you have to be realistically self-reflective. You have to be able to realistically examine your film. I saw someone post recently that all movies up on one of these services should earn more than $300 a month. And that's just nuts. Just having a movie and having it up on a platform does not entitle any of us to earnings. We have to earn them through our marketing, through the movie itself. Anyhow, if you're getting something out of these videos, please subscribe. I've done a whole slew of videos on marketing that you can check out here. But whatever you do, keep making movies.